I wanted to talk about the truths of van life. A lot of people have a misconception about van life. So I just thought I'd share my experience. And the first one I want to point out is how people assume that this is van life. And it really isn't. It's a van, and I live a life based around it, but it isn't the life. It's not the be all and end all. I kind of categorize it like an overnight train. There's somewhere to go to the toilet. That's very important in van life as well. There's somewhere to get some food. There's somewhere to sleep and somewhere to sit. And you get to see things as you're traveling around. And this is the bit that most people absolutely don't get at all, or even don't even understand. The people that are on the train with you influence things that you do on the train, influence what you do after you get off the train. And that, to me, is the core of van life. So 5 years ago, if you would have met me, which would have been quite difficult because 5 years ago, I very rarely went out of my house. I was a total believer in the fact that I was in charge of my own destiny, and I must have, you know, the latest and greatest and nicest cars or whatever. You know, it was important to have a nice house and loads of money and all that kind of stuff, because that's, I suppose, the society that I had grown up in, and also what your peers assume that you should do to obviously match them or compete with them in some way. All sounds a bit crazy, but it kind of is, isn't it? At the end of the day, that person, the 5 years ago John, back in the past, wouldn't really have left the house unless it was to walk Coopy. Wouldn't really interact with other people in the park. I'd say hello to the dogs, but I wouldn't say hello to the people in the park. I work from home, so there was no real interaction with anybody in that regard. My interaction with people was limited, shall we say, and therefore the influence people had on me was limited, which pretty much meant the way I lived my life was limited. You can see a theme coming here. And this is what I'm saying about the train. I mean, you know, you could argue that my house was a train. You know, it's somewhere I worked, I slept, I ate, and I interacted with the people that I could see inside it, or certainly around it. And therefore, the people that I interacted with, you might argue, would affect the day-to-day decisions and things like that that I got up to. But with such a small number of people that I was interacting with, they had such a small, if any, influence on me, and therefore my mindset and view of life was very rarely changed by anybody else that I met. And then you kind of like fast forward, you know, even a year from that, and we sell the house, move into the van at the time that we had, and start traveling. And what you find then for that first year is you'd still see the old John. You definitely recognize him, because he'd be the one that's really struggling to interact with people that are different, that don't fit into his little sort of society box of what you must be doing and everything else like that. Trying to conform to, you know, the usual standards that I've been sort of like, you know, creating and building up and everything in my head, that you've got to do this way and you've got to do things that way. And yeah, I was traveling. I had a home on wheels, but I was a tourist, and I would go to places as a tourist. I wouldn't really absorb much about the place. I would still be quite wary about speaking to people. Not that I've got anything against people, by the way. It's just that I've always been quite shy. So it's a great thing to talk to you guys via a camera, because if you were all stood in front of me, I would be unrecognizable kind of right now. Anyhow, so we go back to like the first year on the road, which included COVID and everything else, which obviously was a different mindset in everybody's kind of like way of normal life. But yeah, I was more of a tourist. I wouldn't really interact with people that I would meet, and I would still kind of limit the people I would interact with as well. As much as the fact that I would go, this is going to sound really bad now, but I am being honest. They're not my kind of people, so I'm not going to interact with them. I did say I was going to be open and honest. What I went through was obviously life-changing, but only in terms of the more interactions I had with people. And living in a van, you're going to get a lot of interactions. It's almost like the holy grail of being a hobbit is it's just you, and you go in the woods in a cabin or a cave, and therefore no one's got any excuse to talk to you. Now, if you want to flip that on the head and force everybody in life to come and talk to you, have a dog, a chatty wife, and live in a van where you go and park up in loads of other places where there are loads of other van lifers who are quite normal, not like me, and they're quite chatty, like Mandy. And everyone comes to talk to you. And then obviously the flip side of that is you make YouTube videos because, you like doing that and you like helping people because you only have to talk to the little camera. And then people want to talk to you about the YouTube videos you make. So, hey-ho. It's been a learning curve. But at the end of the day, the real part of van life, hopefully is becoming a little bit clearer now, is the people that, and again, I've apologised already, the people that I've forced myself to speak to. And it's not their fault. Hopefully I've made that abundantly clear. It's my fault and my view and my blinkers and all this kind of crap. But ultimately, down this path, and probably maybe even as close as to sort of 6 months ago, I don't want to say it because it's untrue, but it's a feeling that I've got. And that is when we had the first silver van conversion, a lot of people spoke to us from both motorhomes and campervans. We then got the motorhome. A lot of the campervan people stopped speaking to us, and more motorhomes people spoke to us. And since we've built our own vans, less motorhome people speak to us and more campervan people speak to us, but more people in the middle of that speak to us. So more people who used to have a campervan and now have a motorhome, or have a motorhome and gone to a campervan, or they're trying to decide what to do, or people who don't have either. Some of you out there, just live vicariously through people like me who live in a van and want to see if it's something that you want to do and you've got a 5-year plan or whatever. And more people like that speak to us, or me anyway, it's my feeling of it. And it's that I think over the last, so like I say, 6 months, I've had more of a realization of what the truth about van life is. And the truth about van life is there are everybody driving a van, motorhome or campervan, from all walks of life. And they all have their own version of what they think's right and wrong in the little box. But the more people you meet and the more people you speak to, the more your mind is opened as your eyes are opened. And I don't mean to say that I've learnt more people to avoid because I'm like, oh my God. It's quite the opposite. Is the more people I've spoken to, which is quite difficult for me, like I said, shy person and all that. A lot of people think I'm aloof or rude or something like that. And it's not. It's just that 99% of the time, behind the camera, I'm fine, or in front of the camera. In real life, if I do meet you and you and I are talking about something I feel quite passionate about, then I'll talk quite openly. Otherwise, it'll feel like a very stilted conversation with someone who doesn't seemingly want to talk to you. I apologise for that. It's just that I don't quite know what to say most of the time when I meet someone for the first time. And this is the bit about van life. It's forced me more and more to do that, which hopefully means I'm coming out of my shell a little bit more, which unfortunately also means people think I'm a cocky TWAT, because I'm different than I used to be 5 years ago. But the truth about that is, over the last couple of years, and certainly the last sort of 6 months or so, I've slowed down what I do travel wise, and I'm no longer a tourist. I'm more a participant in the areas that I travel to and stay in, almost like a resident, if you like, short-term resident. So I get to know, a lot about the local area, the people, experience what goes on there, good or bad, and get to speak to the people there and understand what their views are about that area or the people around or what's going on, and also other people living in vans and what they're doing, where they're going, where they've been. And we're not just talking about, oh yeah, you need to go to this place because there's a freaking a mega park up there and you'll love it. That's all well and good, but at the end of the day, that's not exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, subliminally, I'm picking up messages from all these people and understanding more about life, not just their life or my life, life in general. So going back 5 years or 10 years to the old John, sat in his house, running his own business still, and thinking that, society tells you to work hard for, and it's important because obviously you need to work hard anyway in life, anything, not just, to earn money. But yeah, to work hard for you to fit in the box that everybody, society needs to see you inside the box, which is to own your own property. And it must be a nice property as well to show people, that you are doing well and you put in effort and hard work and everything. And look what I've got. So the old John was predominantly motivated by outwardly being seen as a success, not for the merits or the kudos or anything like that, but just because that in my head was what you were supposed to do in life. The realities, from my point of view, is that that's all BS, and it doesn't make any difference to anybody. The reality is, you should do what you need to do to make sure you're happy and not care at all about what other people think that you should be doing. In no way am I saying be a selfish idiot and, screw people over. What I'm saying is that if you're a nice person, you'll do the nice things to nice people anyway, because that's who you are. But ultimately, focus on you. Make sure you're happy. Make sure you're content, with no regard whatsoever of what other people around you think that you should have or think that you should be doing. Because the more you spend time around everybody, seeing everybody and hearing everybody's opinion, you will realize that it's so varied what everybody thinks that there is no sort of right or wrong. There's like a trend, if you like, and it could be that the trend that we're going through now is probably about an 80-year-old trend, which in the scheme of our life on this planet is nothing. And that trend is this, sort of one of, you must own things, you must own property, have flash cars, show nice things and all this kind of stuff, and go on nice holidays. It's a bit like the Instagram versus reality. And social media has amplified that concept massively, so that, again, we're coming back to the old John. The view of life that you've got through social media right now is massively, I don't want to swear, messed up, because it's a highlight reel from the potentially fake lives that people are willing to live, to get into debt to live as well, I might add, to show off, to get kudos. And that's not real by any stretch of the imagination. What's real, from what I've seen, certainly over the last few years, traveling to, over 34 countries, I think now, and probably over 40,000 miles, and speaking to people I would never normally speak to, and getting experiences from people that I would never otherwise be able to get those experiences, by putting myself out there, by living in this box that is my mode of transport, that places me in situations that I wouldn't be in if I stayed in my normal little house and my normal little 9-to-5 job. And all those experiences and all those people and all those countries and all those ways of life and everything else, they give you like a normal feel to what really is going on. And whilst all this is in my head, and you might disbelieve me and you might think new age hippie and all this kind of stuff, that's up to you, because that's your belief and that's the way you see life. I see life differently, and therefore the truth about van life is that it'll help you open your mind by opening your eyes. Bear in mind that what you're seeing as your life, with the people around you and the people that influence you and what you see on the news and everything else, isn't what's actually out there. Like 5% of what's actually out there is what you're seeing on social media and TV and everything else. The other 95% is real life. If you could just get a flavour of it, like I say, going on a cruise ship, going on a tourist bus or something like that for a month or a few weeks, at the end of that you'll probably get back to your house and go, oh, thank God I'm back to my house. It's normal. I don't have to put up with smelly Dave and the screaming kids and, like someone else's toilet, and it's all comfortable. I remember those days. All I'll say is comfort. Well, yeah, that's comfort. That's seen as uncomfortable to most people. That's seen as comfortable. And that's what I did. And yeah, I wouldn't go back. As weird as this sounds, if you put old John next to me and have him watch a couple of my videos, or just like, be here and monitor what I'm doing, and then interview him afterwards, he would probably turn around and go, oh, couldn't wait to get home. God, why would you want to sit in a van all day and you got to go and crap on the little thing that you've got to empty your poo, and because that's not comfortable. And yeah, it's taken me a while to realize all this, and through some of the recent things that I've spoken about as well, you've seen that it's probably been the realization of going through that process and the sheer overwhelming kind of state of everything I've done over the last 5 years that maybe led to that. But the clarity of being able to see through, I don't know if it's seen through actually, but I guess the breaking down of the wall in front of me to see the bigger picture, to slow down, to absorb things more easily, has made me realize that I spent 40 odd years missing out on life because I was doing this all the time. So yeah, I've got a limited time left, and I intend to see life with my mind and eyes and ears wide open. So there you go, folks. That's my van life. That's the reality and the truth as far as me and what I've done for the last, like say, 4 or 5 years. And yeah, long may it continue. Bit of a different video. Let me know what you thought of it. Let me know what you think about whether your experiences, you know, follow the same kind of track. Or let me know if you're the old John and you're quite happy with that, and that means the world to you, because, you know, that's fine too. But yeah, take care, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.